Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It is Outer Rim Transmission for episode number 93, joined by Ben and Milton. This week, we're going to be breaking down the latest Bad Batch episode, season 2, episode 5, titled Entombed. We're also going to be getting to the first update for Star Wars Celebration Europe happening in April. So we're going to get all into that and maybe some tangents along the way. Who knows what could be in store for this week's episode. First off, how's it going, Milton?
I'm good, guys. How you been? Just ready to get into this episode because it's a rough one. But other than that, though, it's been a good week.
Yep.
I mean, look, this has been a really solid good week. Royal Rumbles tomorrow. Can't wait to watch that. I'm a huge wrestling head, and I can't wait to watch the Eagles play in the NFC Championship on Sunday. Let's go. Actually, I just did a podcast on Wednesday night with my friend John Baker, who is all about wrestling and sports, and he had like me and six other guys did a podcast Wednesday night because we have friends that live out in California, and obviously we have people that live in Pennsylvania, so we did like a podcast about Royal Rumble and just other stuff with wrestling. So it was dope. But yeah, I'm already kind of been in the talking mood this early in this week. So now on my second podcast this week with you guys. So
Whoa.
ready to get into it. Yeah.
Yeah. How was it? You're like, oh yeah, your friend asked you to do a podcast. Dude, I've been podcasting for 2 years straight here at this point. It's like that's nothing for me. I'm a veteran at this point.
Yeah, it's really nothing new for me at this point. But he actually started his, I want to say last year. He loves sports like me. He's a big Miami Dolphins fan. He loves wrestling, like pretty much everything that I like, he likes. And I actually told him, I said, listen, I got to get on the podcast. And actually, I'll give it a shout out now. It's called Podski with John Baker. And he talks like movies and other stuff. But I said, listen, get me on there to talk Star Wars or other stuff. You know, I like this shit. I'm like, I'll talk about it on your podcast because he likes some of this stuff too. So, but it's usually mainly wrestling or something with football.
There you go. We like to, outreach the Outer Rim Transmission folks in other realms of fandoms, both the ones we like and the ones that we don't talk a lot about, or at least I don't talk a lot about. So that's cool. We're extending the reach. So there you go. Go ahead and check out that podcast. Ben, what's going on in your neck of the woods? I know we got a little bit of a beacon, a cry for help, if you will, from your Hoth, basically, environment that you're in.
Yeah, over here in Ohio, we've gotten like about 6 to 8 inches of snow this week. We've had 30, 40 mile an hour winds, and it's just been like whiteout conditions, cold weather, and it's just, it's literally like Hoth. Like I said, I sent you guys kind of like the intro of Empire Strikes Back just because it's so snowy here. And the crazy thing is, like this coming Tuesday and Wednesday, it's supposed to get even worse, and then get into like minus temperatures as the high this coming week. So it's gonna be really cold here. So yeah, living in a real life Hoth situation basically. So that's what I've been up. Well, not really going outside. And then my week's been going pretty good as well. I mean, that's awesome that you're on that podcast, Milton. It's always fun like getting out and talking, especially about things you like. Like you said, like wrestling and football and stuff like that. And then for me, I it was just kind of like the normal week, fitness grind and all that. I've getting some really good momentum on my diet, like had a nice drop on the scale this week. Like in total since Sunday, I'm down about 5 pounds actually. So it definitely was nice because for a while there, like all last week the scale, it was like stick, and it was just not moving. And then like Sunday and Monday it started to move, and then like Tuesday into Wednesday it dropped like 2.5 pounds overnight. So I'm like, yes, like we're getting things going again.
Do you have,
it was a good week.
Yeah, do you have a way to calculate your body fat percentage easily, or do you just have like a regular scale?
No, I mean me, like I'm experienced enough, like I have a good idea of like my body fat percentage and where I'm at. Like I'm probably still at like right now, I would say I'm probably like 22% body fat. And then I need to get down to like I'm working on getting down to in the upper like 180s, which is basically like single digit body fat percentage. I'm looking to get to like 8 or 9% body fat by summer basically. So yeah, we'll see.
All right. Yeah, you got to keep the goal in mind to keep it rolling forward. Little victory by little victory.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. As far as my week at Star Wars, I have been enjoying my time. I finished painting my Mandalorian Super Commandos. I've since built a bunch of new miniatures I'm going to be getting ready to paint. I have Grogu, I have Mando, I have Boba Fett, Daimyo from Book of Boba Fett version. I have IG-88, IG-11. I have a Rebel pilot. So I have a whole bunch of stuff lined up to go. But that's not what I'm showing this week because I'd even tell you guys about this. I'd even want to hint at what I had in store for showing off, but I'm pretty excited about this one. And that
I gotta show you guys something then too when you're done. I just remembered it today.
okay.
Oh, cool.
This weighs, no lie, this thing weighs probably at least 5-6 pounds here. So
Nice.
Oh,
I
wow.
got my first ever omnibus edition of a Star Wars comic collection. This is just
That's awesome.
released. Yeah, this is just released on Tuesday or Wednesday. But it's volume 1, and this is all about the New Republic stories and legends. I'm fully
Nice.
diving into legends. If I could open it up, I can tell you exactly like what stories are in here. But this is basically combining like the epilogue to Shadows of the Empire. So it has Guru. I guess it has like what's his name survived or something. Zizar survived. It's got all the X-wing Rogue Squadron stuff in here. So it's basically like all the X-wing stuff. So I'm very excited because then this leads into the X-wing Rogue Squadron books, which I'll probably end up diving into once I finish this. But then volume 2 of the same collection, they have an omnibus coming out in September, I want to say, and that's going to be collecting all of like the what is it called, Dark Empire, Thrawn trilogy, like. So I'm looking forward to getting that one. That one's already priced at $150, and it's not out
Oh,
yet
my.
because the demand is so high because it's got like the classic stories that everybody wants to see with Dark Empire and all that. But these are really nice quality. Yeah, I can show you some of the interiors here, but like holy crap, man! Like this thing weighs so much. This is a coffee table read. I'm not picking this thing up to just read at work or something. This is staying at home and. That's about it. Yeah, so some of this is like that old school
awesome.
kind of artwork here. But yeah, I'm looking forward to maybe doing like an issue a day or something. Because I think that's well over 1,000 pages. It's literally like heavier than a school textbook. That's how heavy that
That's
freaking
what's
thing
up.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like
Crazy.
when I was a kid, I know I had like a comic book like edition like that, not of Star Wars, but it was
Yeah.
like it was like something like the Silver Surfer like
Mhm.
comics, like
Yep.
all like put in one edition.
Yep.
I wish I would have had that still, but I'm sure I lost it or gave it to somebody when I was a kid. But it was fire.
Yeah. It's
Um,
just nice to compose everything in one big book, and you get the full story.
All right, facts. All right, so my week in Star Wars because I just remembered it because it arrived literally a couple hours ago. So I ordered new like gym tank tops and whatnot. Like the one I'm wearing tonight is like
Oh,
the
hold on,
Zoom.
Milton. Your
It's like the
camera's
Zoom.
frozen right now.
Yeah, 1 second,
Your
Milton.
camera's frozen, so whatever you're gonna show will not show up because you're frozen in time.
Hold on 1 second. Can you guys still hear me though?
I can hear you fine.
Yeah,
It's
we
just
can
your
hear you.
picture just completely paused for some reason. It's not on my end apparently because Ben's seeing it too.
Am I good?
Hold on, he's
Not-
loading back in.
Okay, it's
Am I
good
good?
now. Yep. It
All
just
Yep.
So this week I ordered some new tank tops. All right, and one of them was like a Star Wars related theme, and I'll show it to you right now because it just came in. If you guys can see that.
Wait, hold on one
See that?
second. Hold on 1 second. Now, Discords.
That's
Now,
awesome.
I see
it's
it, but unfortunately, the people watching at home aren't seeing it because my Discord's
Oh.
freaking out right now, and it's like not showing me or anybody moving.
Okay.
Oh,
let's-
I could
let's-
see Milton moving there.
Oh no,
Well,
you're just explain it for the audience listening. We'll say that much.
Well, so it's just it's a regular black stringer tank top. But on like the left to right side of it, there's a stormtrooper with his helmet on, swole, holding. He's cut up. He's holding a dumbbell. So I thought that was really cool. Like, I'll send you guys a picture of it. It's pretty dope. Like I loved this particular stringer because I was like, man, I got to get that. Like it's a stormtrooper who's jacked. lifting
Okay, we're good
weights.
now. We're good
Or-
now.
or-
You can show it off again. We're good. Here we
Yeah,
go. We
see,
got
so-
it for the visual audience.
Yeah.
Live show people.
We're live to people. So here it is. Ready? That's my week in Star Wars. Ugh.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Shredded stormtrooper, man.
So I figured I'd switch it up.
There you go.
Um, but no, I mean, because I like to wear like different type of tank tops
Yeah.
or whatever at the gym, as you guys have seen. I'm like, you know what? I couldn't pass that up. It's a perfect tank top. It works for me. So yeah, I'm probably gonna wear that sometime next week. Probably for Arm Day to show off the arms.
Hey, that's the way to do it. Just
What
had
about-
arm day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like as you see right here, I was just working out with my Old Republic shirt. I have probably like a week's worth of Old Republic shirts because every time you go to like those free cantinas at conventions, they give you like a different design. So I can have just like every day each week just wearing an Old Republic shirt just itself, but then like this entire drawer right next to me is nothing but Star Wars shirts. At this point, I've stopped buying them, but other people keep continuing to buy them for me. So it's like, well, whatever. I'll have to find a place for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's dope. I mean, I like them. If they're good, like workout shirts, I'll wear them.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So we're diving into the show proper for everybody watching, such as Chris Weber. You can always listen to us after the fact. We go on the podcast networks around Monday, around midnight or so. But you can also tune in. We urge everybody listening after the fact, please come in to the YouTube on 9 o'clock on Fridays. We would love to have you enter the chat, have a great quality interactions as we always do here with our community on Outer Rim Transmission. We also have t-shirts available to order on teespring.com. Just search Outer Rim Transmission. Getting into this week's releases, as I already just showed off, we have the Star Wars The New Republic Marvel Omnibus Edition. You can go ahead and buy if it's not sold out already. I think it's probably sold out at this point, but hey, you can go to cheapgraphicnovels.com. I believe they might have them. Other than that, we had our usual single issue releases in Star Wars comics. We had Dr. Aphra issue number 28. We had Yoda issue number 3 and the Blade issue number 2. And the Blade is set during the High Republic Phase 2. So really cool swashbuckling Jedi action in that one. And really, we only have basically one news story this week. And that is we have some Star Wars Celebration guest announcements coming to the London Excel Center. Star Wars Celebration runs from April 7th through April 10th. And we got announcements that run the gamut of all the various media and mediums of Star Wars. We have Anthony Daniels, Ashley Eckstein, Matt Lanter, D. Bradley Baker, Giancarlo Esposito, Vivian Lyra Blair, aka Princess Leia and Obi-Wan, as well as Indira Varma as well from Obi-Wan Kenobi playing Talia. So yeah, this is pretty cool. We're just a little bit over 2 months away, so we're probably gonna have on this channel, we'll probably have the weekly celebration update, because I think we'll probably start getting either panels or guests announced. I mean, full transparency, I've applied to do a fan panel. I'm not going to say what it could be about, because if it does get it, confirmed, I will talk about it more. So I'm kind of waiting with crossed fingers to see if that goes through or not, because, not everybody's going to get a chance. I'm sure they get a lot of different people trying to do those sorts of things at the fan convention. But anyway, yeah, so I like the fact that we have, characters from animation, from live action TV, from live action movies. So they are running the full gamut, as Celebration always just has a nice vast array of different actors. I'll leave it to you guys. If you one day go to Celebration, what would be some of the main actors you would like to see or like to interact with at a Celebration?
I mean, I can probably just name okay. Just want to talk about current or past.
Hey, Milton, real quick, you're like super loud for some reason. I don't know if there's something
Really?
do you hear that, Ben?
On my end, he sounds like he normally does.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what's going on today. This is crazy. People, again, this is a live show. I don't know what's going on with our tech
I could
today.
change his dialogue or his volume in the actual Discord, I think, anyway.
But anyways, if you want to go, I'll do it this way. I answered this question like this. I want to look at legend, past actors.
Yep.
I would like to obviously have to interact with Peter Cushing.
Oh, okay.
He's a legend. He's a legend when it comes to the British acting and stage plays, that type of thing. And even Alec Guinness would be kind of dope to talk to. yeah, I think I would want to talk to those gentlemen or just be like, hey, like, what was it like shooting that original film? You guys didn't really have that background of like mainstream theater or excuse me, cinema. What was it like
Hmm.
coming into that? Now I know Alec Guinness was born to Arabia and that type of thing, but he wasn't really into sci-fi. And I know Peter Cushing was all about horror films at one point. So it'd be
Hmm.
nice to see like just talk to him about why do you want to make that transition from horror theater and jump from that to like science fiction. Current actors, obviously, Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, Natalie Portman, Liam Neeson, Mark Hamill, of course, will be a great one, and Billy D. Williams. And I think John Williams will be on that list. I like to talk to those particular people and just pick their brains about the process of being a Star Wars actor and their careers and just the stories that they might be able to tell about their careers.
All right, I would say for me, that's a tough one because there's so many great choices. Like Milton, you already nailed a few of them, like Alec Guinness, Peter Cushing. Like those guys are, especially Alec Guinness. Like he would be so awesome to talk to
Hmm.
when it comes to like a celebration setting. But for me, I mean, hey guys, we can just kind of like do a around the room like for different projects. Like say, we we're kind of talked about the original trilogy and prequels, and then we can even throw in the sequels and some of the Mandoverse people if you guys want, since we have time. Um, for me though, yeah, I would agree. Like, I think Alec Guinness would be my main one from like the original trilogy, just because like all the different stories you heard about him over the years, like not being the biggest fan of Star Wars and basically like pushing fans away from being Star Wars fans or trying to anyways. So it'd be cool getting to like hear his experiences on the film. And then like for me from like the prequel trilogy, it's it's such a tough one. Like, of course there's Ewan and Hayden. Um those guys I think would be great. But I think a really fun one, um, for sure, that's kind of overlooked is Tamara Morrison. Just because like his face like has become so iconic. Like he's become so iconic with Star Wars, whether it be the clones, Boba Fett, Jango Fett, Stormtroopers, like anything related to the Imperial side of Star Wars, like Tamara Morrison is there. And
Yep.
now I don't know about you guys, but when you see like when I saw Aquaman, I'm not even thinking of that as like Jason Momoa's dad. I'm thinking of that as
Hmm.
Boba Fett or
Yeah.
Jango Fett. Like I don't even I just see Tamara Morrison and I instantly think Django. Like I
Hmm.
don't even think about whatever character he's playing. Like just because it's like he's so iconic. Like his face is so iconic with Star Wars now. So I think Tamara Morrison would be an awesome one to talk to, and he seems like he's a pretty cool dude. Like just from all of his interviews and stuff. So I think he's a big one I would talk to. And then I think like from the sequels, gosh, there are like so many good choices, but I think the for me anyways, like one of the best ones would be Andy Serkis, just because it's like
Oh.
I would love to hear like his view on Snoke, like what Snoke could have possibly been. I know, we kind of talked about it last week, Milton, like man, Snoke is like had so much potential and then it was like washed away. So it's like I wonder, well, like they told Andy Serkis from the start what he was going to actually be, like or ideally. So he would be one of my ideal ones from the sequels, and then we'll get back to the shows. But how about you, Chris?
You're muted.
Chris, yeah, you're
Yeah, it's
muted.
hard because for me it's like I've been to so many things with celebrations with just normal Comic Cons around the area. So I've seen basically everybody I want to. I literally met Mark Hamill. I literally met Carrie Fisher. Okay, I would say let's meet Harrison Ford. I just missed him last time because I didn't get a chance to be in the room when he came out introducing Indiana Jones. So I was a little bit perturbed by that. But there's another chance. I have another chance because he's still going to be promoting that. Maybe he'll show up in London. I don't know if he's going to want to go all the way overseas just for a 5 minute appearance, but money talks. So who knows? But yeah, for me it's hard because like as you said, I've met well I didn't meet it's more so, for me I don't really meet the people. I know they always have the autographs, they always have the photo ops. That's a big thing. There's a lot of people out there that go to this convention specifically just for that reason. I'm more of the guy that's there for the news, more of the guy that's there for the community hanging out. Because I don't have that much disposable income to really just like warrant paying $150 for each person's autograph, so I can't do that. So for me, it's like I see these people from a distance and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I'm in the same room as so and so. So from that perspective, I've seen a lot of the actors, including the sequel trilogy. I was at the Attack of the Clones with Ewan, with Hayden in the same room, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Tamora Morrison's a great choice because that guy does look like he's a lot of fun to just hang out with. Every time he's like on camera or he's in front of an audience, he's just like hamming
Behind
it
the
up.
scenes Boba stuff.
Oh
Like,
yeah. I mean, I've seen The Emperor. I mean, James Earl Jones. I mean, he never goes to conventions. That'd be pretty cool to get him out there. I don't think a lot of people give him enough credit because most of the time it's David Prowse that goes to the conventions, but not. I mean, obviously he passed away, but like he would be the more of the Vader representation, rather than James Earl Jones, even though he is like the face of Star Wars. You see Vader, you know what that is. Sometimes you see Luke, and people will be like, "Yeah, it's just some dude with blonde hair," but see Vader, it's like, oh, that's totally Star Wars, So yeah, let's get more representation for James Earl Jones at these things. I know he's up there in age, but if they were ever to have celebration as I want it to be in New York City, I think he lives near there, so maybe it wouldn't be that much of a stretch to get him to come out for one afternoon.
yeah, he would be an awesome one to meet. Like to meet, talk his experiences. Like he's been in other projects too over the years. So like I feel like he would be an awesome person to hear like his movie and TV stories from. Of course, you'd have to ask him about Lion King. I mean, come on now, like you gotta ask him about that.
Oh yeah.
And then he's just a true like icon, especially his voice. Like his voice is iconic. Like it's right there with like Morgan Freeman and those type of people, with iconic voices. But yeah, I totally agree with you there with James Earl Jones. And then, so we kind of went over the prequels, the sequels, the original trilogy. Let's get into some of the live action shows. Like, all right, so we have Andor, we have Kenobi, we have Mando. Like, out of those three shows, like, what actor or even like behind the scenes people would you guys like to meet out of any of those shows, really?
Dave Filoni. It'd be Dave Filoni and Rosario Dawson for me, easy.
Yeah, for me, it would definitely be the creator of Andor. Gosh, why am I blanking on the guy's
Tony
name?
Gilroy.
That's the one. Because he has such an interesting perspective. I think he has created the best thing in Star Wars since like The Force Awakens or Rogue One.
Wait a minute. Wait. Let's back up on that statement. What are you trying to say? He did what?
I think he created what I think is as the best Star Wars since Rogue One.
You mean, are you talking about for like the Disney era
Yeah.
Star Wars?
Yeah.
Okay, about to say, let's clarify that.
No.
Yeah, I mean, hold on. Yeah, let's
for
clarify
the last
those
couple
those
years.
statements here.
So if you're saying it like that, I can't disagree, or I can't disagree with that because I did like Andor. As the show went on, I was starting to like it more and more. I would say it's up there, and I would say Force Awakens again. I don't mind that movie. I keep telling people they don't believe me when I say it. Like I actually don't mind that movie.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, Andor, Rogue One, and Mandalorian.
Yeah, Mandalorian's up there too. But the reason why I said specifically Tony Gilroy because he is the one person that's creatively been known to be like, yeah, I could care less about Star Wars. They're gonna pay me money to make a good movie with spy action thriller. I'll sprinkle in a lot of Star Wars and we'll call it a day. And I was like, I want to see like his perspective on the galaxy and like how he's folding the storylines together from that perspective of somebody that's not like us who's like living and breathing Star Wars every week,
No, I mean it's good. I mean you're right. I think he'd be an interesting person to talk to for sure.
He's a really good one, and like you mentioned, Milton, Dave, and Rosario, they would be awesome to talk to. Like, especially the thing is with Rosario, she's such like an accomplished actress coming into Star Wars. Like, she's up there with the likes of any of the accomplished people in Star Wars. I mean, she's Oscar nominated, and there's only a few actors in Star Wars that have ever been like Oscar nominated, like outside of Star Wars. So, so it's really cool just seeing her involved, and then for me, I don't know. That's a tough one. Like out of these shows, like, we already talked about Ewan. We talked about, Dave would be awesome just because like you could literally talk to him about like from the beginning of like, or heck, even just, what does Star Wars mean to him? Like something just like really interesting that he could get into. Um, I think he would be a really cool one to talk to and really go over, like just the whole concepts of the show, like,
Yeah.
and everything like that they have planned. Like,
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
that's what I think I would find most interesting, like out of like talking with any of the people from like the Mandoverse or the
Mm-hmm.
live action related shows
Mm-hmm.
would be, I would love to just sit down with like John and Dave and
Yep.
like hear, like tell me like off the record what's the plan. I want to see like the overarching big plan here. Like
Yeah.
what is point A to point Z? Give me all the spoilers. Just I want to hear your process of how you
Yeah.
got to the end game. Like
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
did you get to, like how did they get to, of course Thrawn was in Rebels and Thrawn was thrown in the other side of the galaxy, but how did you get to that being the big bad? Like how did, like what made you decide to do that? Is it because of just fans? Is it because of, your plan? Like, hey, people liked him from the books, etc. Like, I would love to hear like the point A to point Z process behind the planning of the Mandalorian shows. I think they would be a really interesting pair to talk with, and also I would just like to hear, yeah, like I just feel like they would be such a great interview to talk to out of the two. And then in terms of like the actors though on the show, of course you have Pedro would be really cool to talk to because of Game of Thrones, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously now The Last of Us, Chris, like he would
Yeah.
be too. But I think for me, other than like Rosario, I think the biggest one for me for sure is Katie Sackhoff, because she's in so many sci-fi shows, of course. Like she's in The Mandalorian. She has an awesome show that unfortunately got canceled on Netflix. It's a really good sci-fi, like
What's it
just
called?
your general. Pardon me.
What's that one called? That she was in?
That one's called Away,
Okay.
and basically it's like it had 3 seasons, and it's basically like your general humans want to leave Earth and run into aliens outside on like a random planet type deal, like that sort of thing, like alien exploration type sci-fi, just kind of show like that. And that was a lot of fun with her on there. And then just like talking about her experiences, like going from animation to live action, like how cool is that, knowing like you're the first character making that jump in terms of animated to live action transition. Like I think that'd be cool talking with her about that. And then the cool thing about like Katie Sackhoff, us three can appreciate her on the podcast here just because we're all so into fitness. Like she's really into fitness too. Like, she does a lot of workouts and like, knows her stuff. Like it's funny. Like I saw her doing a live stream before, and like people were asking her like fitness related questions and stuff, and she was like talking about macros and calories and the different lifts and all this stuff. Like she knows all that. So it's like it's cool knowing like some actors, because we see it all the time, like celebrities like just spouting out BS about fitness, and it's like, oh, that's cool, like an
Ha.
actor in Star Wars actually knows her stuff.
Yeah, we have Chris Webber in the chat saying Bill Burr from Mando would be dope. Yeah, I mean that guy
Oh
comes
yeah.
from a comedy background, and he's also kind of been like nonchalant about his like love of Star Wars for the most part, or lack thereof. Like it's just like, yeah, it looks like the more he's involved with Star Wars, the more he likes it. But I think at first he was, I don't want to take words out of his mouth, but I don't think he was like, I think he was approaching it from like a Tony Gilroy perspective for the most part.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, so there you go. There's just a few of our once of meeting celebrities in the Star Wars, celebrities or the top executives. I think that's a great idea, Ben, about meeting Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, just simply because what they're doing in now is the hottest thing in Star Wars, without a doubt. Like Mando is the hottest thing in Star Wars since The Force Awakens, without a doubt, and it's paving new territory for Star Wars. It's the MCU of Star Wars, but on the small screen. So they are doing something that hasn't been done before, and that is really interesting. Again, okay, how do you navigate with this character? Do you have this character storyline plotted out, or along the way did something happen where you're like, oh, I can do more with this character, so let's chart their journey this way. Oh, I have this character from an animated series, I can bring him in. Like I would love to be like in the writer's room just hearing about the synthesis of these ideas as they come like organically through the process of tying everything together.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And then, of course, like sitting down and talking with John and Dave, we would have to tell Dave, okay, listen, we need to put in a programming request here. Basically, you need to like strong arm everybody there into you just doing endless little 6 episode things like Tales of the Jedi when you have your free time. Like you just need to just keep pumping that type of stuff out because like that's great content. And like I said, when we talked about Tales of the Jedi before, it's like an hour long total or whatever, hour and 10 minutes long, whatever. And so Dave probably could get that done, at least the general overarching concepts and stuff, probably in a few plane flights across the country, back and forth here and there, say 10-hour, a couple days worth of flights here and there like that. I'm sure he's flying on planes quite a bit, being a high up person there at Lucasfilm. Like, so like, I would definitely put in like a programming request and be like, hey, you need to like really keep this Tales of the Jedi thing going because like people really appreciated it.
Heck yeah. Let's get him on more planes, right? That's the key. That's when he's bored. You got to put him in situations where he's traveling long distances, and we'll never run out of those 6 episode short lists there.
Fly him to Australia.
There you go. Celebration Australia. There you go. I don't know if I'd be able to make that one, but hey, just send him there so he can make more stories for us. Speaking of stories, we're going to be talking about a story that we got this week. We're going into our Bad Batch review and discussion. As always, we go full spoilers, heavy spoilers on this episode, which is Season 2, Episode 5, titled Entombed. On this episode, we have the entire Bad Batch, except Crosshair, of course, is still not with this group, at least at this moment. They take another mission. This time, they're working alongside the new pirate of the group. That is, I think her name's Fee. Is it Fee?
Yeah.
Yep.
Fee. Yes. Played by Wanda Sykes, right?
Yep.
Okay, yes, played by Wanda Sykes. This pirate they find a compass in this junkyard. Turns out that Fee says, okay, this is somewhere that's important. And they go there, and it's these ancients that reside at this place pre-Jedi. So we're going back several millennium. And they wake up this beast, and it's because of the greed of releasing this really nice, fancy-looking Heart of the Mountain item that they soon unleash hell on this planet, and it's up to Fee to make the choice to put that back in place, leaving that valuable treasure behind in order to just basically save their skins, and that is our story in a nutshell. So I'm going to throw this one over to Ben first. What was your initial reaction to Entombed?
Well, for starters, after seeing the chatter on social media on Wednesday and your message to start the day Wednesday morning,
don't put this on me. Don't put this on me.
Well, no. I wasn't. My review wasn't influenced on you. My time of when I watched it was influenced for sure. But I actually just watched that episode this morning. Just because I was like, man, I'm hearing all this like wishy-washy chatter. I just am not even motivated to like watch this. So I just turned it on when I was eating breakfast this morning. I was like, well, today's the day. We have the podcast tonight, so I have to watch it today. So I watched it, and it was like, yep, I see why people are talking the way they are. Again, like we talked last week, the visuals are really good visuals. Like the lighting was good. Because sometimes when shows go into like mountain areas or whatever, sometimes the lighting can be too dark or too like bright in some areas, and it just felt like they hit a good balance on the lighting and sound design, all of that sort of stuff. Always on point, as always with Star Wars animated projects. But that's about where the bus stops, and for the rest of it, it was just like another like, what are we doing here episode. Like Milton messaged in our chat, like we'll get into he'll get into his reaction later, but like it was, or after mine, it was like a struggle getting through this episode. Like I was 10 minutes in and I was like, man, like what are we doing? Like this just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel it to me. And it's just crazy because like, it's like, are we going down a path where it's like every week it's just going to be like new random mission of the week, and now we're not even getting hints of like Cody or really Crosshair, we're not even getting hints of like any of the interesting parts of the show, and it's just like, what is going on? And like, every now 2 weeks in a row, it just left me scratching my head like, what are we doing?
Yeah, yeah. So all valid points, all valid points. I'll go now. Um, yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head with a lot of the things I'm gonna make points of right now, and for me the word would be feeling would be disappointed, frustrated. Yeah, because last week, and I'm looking back in hindsight, last week there was some redeeming qualities about the episodes that I feel that we didn't hit after listening to other podcasts since I've done recording last week. The two major things being, okay, tech. Yes, we got to learn a lot more about tech, and I think in that
Yeah.
first season he was kind of left on the wayside. We got mostly the development on Omega side and Hunter, and I feel like the rest of the clones were kind of left on the wayside, especially Echo. I feel like Echo in some of his episodes he had like one single word, and then he's just in the background, just there, and it's just like, okay, like what's the point of even having him in this episode? He's just a background character. So I got to give credit where credit is due for last week. Okay, yes, that episode did play a factor on making us, see more of Echo, see more of his person, or see more of Tech, see more of his personality in that way. Also, just like the premiere, that last part of the episode, I think we might have touched on a little bit. It's like, hey, there's the warning giving to the clones, which alludes to something greater along the way. It's very easy to see that they're gonna get double crossed by Sid at one point, and they're gonna forsake her forever. So there's at least a little bit of a tease there. And where I'm going with this is this episode literally has none of that. Like, this episode doesn't have any development on any of our current characters that we're trying to care more about, and there's no lead in to anything else in the future that would keep us engaged to why we need to watch this episode in the first place. It just seems like it's a little, and yes, it is about a character named Fee that we get to learn a little bit more about. It's rather shallow, even if you look at it that way. It's like, yeah, we learned that she likes to tell stories and sometimes elaborates more than she really needs to on these things just to sound cool and embellish them. But other than that, there really isn't a lot of things here. I don't want to go on too long without Milton giving his thoughts here, but good thing, some of the best music I've heard in a long time with Star Wars in general. I don't know, the music really, I guess it's because I'm a big Indiana Jones fan, and that really resonated with this episode. This episode borrowed some things from Jedi Fallen Order, which I was a fan of. They didn't straight up say it was from Zepho, but the Zepho civilization definitely looked like it was represented by the iconography of whatever that beast thing was. And finally, there's a reference to like Horizon Zero Dawn from the PlayStation with that big tall neck thing. So I'm gonna throw it over to Milton, but right now, not impressed.
Phew, man, I'm gonna keep mine real short because there's nothing good about this episode. Nothing. Like I can't repeat what I said in our group chat because Chris, you don't want me swearing hardcore like that. But literally, like I barely paid attention to this episode, and I watched the whole thing like within the first 5 minutes. I was on my phone. I was like, what is this? I'm looking at my phone. I'm watching it, not really paying attention because I'm like, this is they're in the junkyard. And then they go back to Sid's place. I'm like, what? We're here again? And they talk about the treasure, and then he's like, because I think Tecker might have been Echo said something about like, we tried this treasure thing before it didn't work out.
Yeah,
And literally at the end he says we're 0 for 2. And I'm thinking,
yeah.
and I texted my brother because he's asking if I was on the podcast tonight. I said yeah, and I was like, this episode was trash just like last week's. I'm like, it was unnecessary. It's just like last week. I like these episodes are unnecessary. Like there's not been one good episode except for episode
Three.
what was it 3? So 3. That's it. I mean, this show is bad right now. There's nothing I can say that's good. I mean, except for Ben, you said the visuals look good, music, sound, all that tangible stuff looks great. That's easy.
Non-story stuff is fine.
Exactly. This show is, oof, I can't even say what I want to say right now because I just want to just drop F-bombs every other word now because it's not good. It's trash. Like this has been trash, Chris. Like I don't. And then I got your message in the group chat before we started the show about what Harloff was saying.
14 to 16.
About these episodes, like pretty much being what they have been. If that's the show, I might as well not even review these with y'all because I'm going to say they're trash every week. This is ridiculous. Like, there's no pushing of the
I
narrative.
think,
Like, we
yeah.
haven't seen Crosshair for 2 straight episodes.
I know for a fact. I know for a fact, like I said, Harloff said he's seen 14 to 16. So obviously they're leaving 2
Oh,
out because of spoilers, and like it's probably the final 2. And then he said
yeah.
out of the 14,
Okay.
there's probably 3 to 5 that are like good enough. You know,
That's
like
it?
good.
Yeah, that's
What?
bad.
Out of
Yeah,
16?
yeah.
I tell you, like, literally, when you sent that today, I was like, please, God, it cannot be. So, and here's the thing, though, too. Like, I just feel like this show has fully lost its direction. Unless they're trying to play us on purpose just to, like, build up second half. Because what? 5 episodes in, and there's 16. We are a fourth into the season,
Yeah.
and I have no idea what's going on with this particular season at all. It is trash.
Here's
This episode's bad. Like, I don't. It's bad. It's probably
here.
worse than last week's.
Oh yeah. Here's my thing with the show too, guys. Like, all right, so obviously the Bad Batch, you have the guys, but one of the main characters of the show, on paper anyway, in my opinion, should be Omega. Like, that's how he started the
Hmm.
first season. It seemed like she's kind of like the Grogu, like the important character for the show. And they like, to me, like she was my favorite character last year, and now it's like they're taking her character and like regressing it from
Yeah.
having more skills and stuff to they're regressing her. Like, to me, is like, are we at a point, like, is she like 16 or 17, or is she like 11 here? Because my thing is, it's like she should be progressing into like more at least upper teenager, like 16, 17, like more mature-ish type mannerisms. And then now they're like, they they've like regressed her to where she literally in this episode was like, oh, that sounds like fun and this and that. And it's like, wait, are we having a kid Omega here or an actual like teenager Omega?
No, they regressed her to a child because literally I remember this exactly. He's like, that Fee lady said something about the kingdom of Elways or something, and
Yep.
she's like, kingdoms of Elways, and I'm thinking, why are you like making her repeat that? I'm like, that's stupid. You almost
16,
died.
15-year-old wouldn't talk like that.
Exactly. It's like you're out here fighting, big Wampus beast with a bow and arrow laser
Yep.
thing, and now like it's just it's inconsistent. This show is garbage right now. Like, unless the next 11 episodes are fire, right now this show is trash. Like, and I
Yeah.
cannot believe I'm saying that because I like some
Yeah.
of the episodes from last season. I like a
Yeah,
lot of
really.
Dave Filoni's work.
Yep.
This shit is garbage.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude! I can't defend this. And if anyone out there on Twitter or Instagram or YouTube's defending this, y'all give me your eyes checked. This is bad. I don't even care. I don't care who's coming at. Come at me, bro. At me, and I'll at you back and say you're on your bullshit. This is bad.
Let's get into it, Ben. Let's get into it. So, first off, I mean, I gotta say, hey, they got new outfits. That was one of the positives. One of the positives. And believe me, that goes a long way, right? Not just for Hasbro making new action figures. I know that, but it adds more of, okay, these guys have like their clothes what they're hanging out in. They're not in battle armor. It's like, okay, cool. They got that in there. So that was one of the things. Um,
But
let's see.
that's ridiculous though, because like if that's what one thing you take away from it, to say like their outfits are nice, like that's terrible for the show. I shouldn't care about what they look like. I want to see how them progressing the story and telling the true narrative. Like, this is supposed to be the clone rebellion and the Empire showing its cracks with the clones and all that stuff like that. Haven't got none of that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt.
yeah, and that's the only. I hate to say it, that's the only good thing I have left on my list out of like 10 negative things.
Here we
So
go. My point exactly. Like, this. Yeah.
besides the
The
music,
one
besides the animation, besides the cool clothing options, there's not much else that I like to say. I mean, I'll get into this can of worms here. So I don't like how Star Wars has become so derivative. And I feel like they've been doing this many, many times. Like, how many episodes are we going to get that are akin to Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Crusade? Raiders of the Lost Ark. I just combined two of the titles. Um, how many times are we going to get references to like the pod racing in Phantom Menace? Like, that's what I mean. Like right now, just not only are these episodes kind of meandering a little bit, but their episode premises are based on things we've already seen and things that have already honored in other Star Wars works. Like I'm pretty sure they've done that in Clone Wars, like an homage to Indiana Jones. I'm pretty sure they've done that in like even the live action shows as well. So it's like, how many times are we gonna just get the same motifs like brought back over and over and over and over again? Because it's just like, oh, this is them maybe being cute and being like, hey, we can make a really cool Indiana Jones episode. But it's like, yeah, that's awesome, and you could do that, but like, what about the actual story that we want to that's being told in the beginning of this thing? Like, it's that perspective. I hope they're not getting lost on just doing these episodic things just to satisfy the creator's own wants of, oh, I just want to see this story like look like
Yep.
this other story that I really like.
Well,
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, and I think that's them being lazy, and I don't want to say that, but it seems like it's lazy, and that they really don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. I just feel like they don't know what story to tell right now. That's what I feel like, because literally we should not have to go from episode 3, 2 straight episodes without pushing any story at all. I don't care. Like the racing thing wasn't necessary, but it was whatever it was. This is truly unnecessary. This pushes no strength of any character. Doesn't push any weaknesses in any. It don't show that. There's no
Regress
story.
Omega.
Pretty much, the narrative isn't being pushed, as I mentioned. I don't care about no. I don't care about an ancient transformer. That's what it was. It was an ancient transformer that got woken up and destroyed a desert, or
Yeah.
a messed up planet, or I say it's a Megazord. I don't care about a Megazord and a transformer in Star Wars. Get out of there. That was unnecessary. You know what else that thing looked like? It took from another motif, because that heart crystal thing looked like one of those elements from the Fifth Element movie.
Wow.
Look at it again. It looked just like the water element. I was thinking, why
Oh.
we got this in here? This is stupid.
Well,
Again, as you
see,
can tell, this episode's bad.
here's my thing with the entire episode. It's like, if you're gonna do this, instead of making it be on this, even if you have this planet, at least make an Imperial base there so we interact with stormtroopers or something. Like, you know, give us something to hang on to, or even better, this is me just like completely changing the show now, but just Wanda Sykes is a great actress, all this stuff. Why not just make her character be Hondo? Why? Like that? It just would. I think it would at least. Or if you bring in Hondo, at least it takes off some of the edge. Like I feel like, you know, we want to. Of course, we would be harsh on this episode because of the story and everything, but at least having a character like Hondo in this would have made it more redeemable, in my opinion, just because it's like we have a relationship with that character, he's funny, etc. Like, you know, versus just making new characters. Like,
Yeah.
and Hondo's a perfect character that could have been right in Sid's realm, perfect character, and potentially to like double cross the crew again, or you know, whatever, just pull that sort of thing. But like there's just so many creative choices, and then as you mentioned, Chris, like taking a lot of the motifs, like you can do that sort of thing, but my thing, I think a lot of the creatives at Star Wars overlook now is like you have like JJ and Ryan and JJ again in the sequel trilogy, and then even some of the other stuff with the other movies, with Rogue One or Solo, is like a lot of the projects in Star Wars take inspiration from Star Wars, which is fine to an extent. Like for me, like a lot of these creatives overlook the fact though that George Lucas, when he was developing Star Wars and even the prequel trilogy,
Yeah.
he wasn't taking inspiration from Star Wars. He was taking inspiration from like Kurosawa and like World War II, and he was taking inspiration from other non-Star Wars things. And like now Star Wars is just drawing its inspiration only from Star Wars on a lot of projects. Like that's why like Mando was so nice, because it literally feels like a space western show. Like it doesn't feel like it feels like a Star Wars show, obviously, because of Star Wars things in it.
Yeah.
But when you watch Mando, you 100% get Western vibes.
Yeah.
And then like you have episodes like this of Bad Batch. Like, of course, comparing Bad Batch to Mando is not a fair comparison, and like I can admit that, but when you have episodes like this of Bad Batch where it's like they're just like doing the same rinse and repeat of Indiana Jones again, it's like, dude, at this point in Star Wars, if you're gonna go full Indiana Jones, like, of course you, Chris, like knowing the all the comics and books so
Yeah.
well, why not just make a 2 hour Dr. Aphra movie if you're gonna do all this stuff? Like, just throw out all the Indiana Jones ideas and throw it right into a Dr. Aphra movie and be done with it. Like,
Th- This
I just
character
don't
should
know.
have been Dr. Aphra. Why did they have to
Oh,
get
that's
the
the
fee?
point.
This
Yeah, I mean,
character
there you
could have
go.
been Dr. Aphra,
Dr.
and then I would have
Aphra
been
was
like,
around during this
yeah, this
time.
makes sense. But like going back, 2 points, Ben. First off, even more so, and I'll bring it up again until I'm blue in the face. Like that's why I like Andor so much, because Andor did not play along with any of the tropes that Star Wars has borrowed in the past. It didn't borrow from Kurosawa. It didn't borrow from Indiana Jones. It was its own thing, playing off of its own contemporary things like House of Cards or any of those other like dramas that are more contemporary. It was borrowing more from them than the stuff that George Lucas was looking at, and that's why I found it so refreshing. And that's what Star Wars needs to do now is we need to like something in Star Wars, and I guess Mando could be doing this. Like
Yeah.
they need to be looking at what's being made now, 30 years from now, and borrowing from, hey, let's borrow this from Andor or let's borrow this from Mando season 3. Like these elements that are unique to those projects then that aren't actually borrowing from anything else. Like Star Wars needs to start setting the foundations for the next 30 years. And that means being unique and creatively going outside of the box. And sometimes I feel like they are a little bit too stuck in their kind of normal well that they borrow from, and they're not
Well, look,
doing enough to push things forward like they used to.
look at Mando, for example. Um, that show's such a big hit. We always bring it up. Everybody always brings it up. Oh, it's such a big hit because of Grogu. Grogu's so cute. Grogu's the best, and of course he is. Like I mentioned many times on this podcast, he is right there. It's Vader 1A and Grogu's 1B for Star Wars icons. Like there's no one else even close to those two characters. And the thing is, sure, Grogu is Baby Yoda, but here's the thing. In Star Wars, up to that point, we never had anything like that. Like we never had a cute creature that was literally the main character of the saga at all. It was Luke, it was Anakin and Obi-Wan, it was Rey and Kylo and Finn and Poe, it was, droids. It was never like a cute little creature like that. And, that was Dave and John thinking outside of the box, like, taking a chance there and it actually working. And I think that's why, Grogu went over so well. Of course, he's so cute, but it's just a different outside of the box thinking versus just giving Mando like a droid partner to work with, So like, I think that's something they need to keep in mind. Like, sure, Grogu, is Baby Yoda, but it was such a unique idea. Like, they need to take that creativeness and apply it to other shows like Bad Batch, where it's like, hey, let's think outside the box here, still keep it a Star Wars feel to a degree, but think outside the box on some of these things. And it just feels like they're playing it way, way too safe. Like to me, like everyone, like all of our listeners know, like I'm not the biggest fan of Andor. Like I definitely don't think it's the best Star Wars thing under Disney whatsoever. But the thing is, I think they should find like a happy medium between like Andor and like being like a major like safe play, and then Andor. Like you have your two spectrums. I feel like if they find some happy medium between there, they would be set. And it's just like they can't though. It doesn't feel like they will. Like it just feels like with this show right now, it's just like the same stuff over and over and over and over. And it's like, what are we doing here, guys? Like and the thing is, all three of us here, we want to give this show like a fair shot because we're Star Wars fans. We want to have hope and have optimism, but it's really difficult right now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we know the show has promise. I said that last week. There's been, like Milton said, there's been certain episodes from season 1. We got the premiere, which was solid. I think I gave the premiere a 7 or an 8. That's solid in my book. That's good. And then episode 3 was amazing. We all agreed that was a 9 out of 10. That was one of the best Star Wars animated episodes we had ever seen. Each one of us said that.
Bad Batch.
Yeah, not even just Bad Batch, Clone Wars, everything around that's animated. And that's awesome to be able to say those sorts of things. So by all means, we want the show to be good, but I don't know if it's like I'm having a hard time. Should I have to recalibrate my expectations when the expectations were set so high to what they could be? And it's not like we're going into this like, oh, we expect this to be for 3-year-olds, so we're going to keep our expectations down. No, they had an
Right.
episode where there was a hostage situation. Somebody was, basically gunned down and everything else. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, wait. So I think that's where we're having difficulties. There's this tonal shift where you can get these episodes that are uber violent and uber mature. And then the episodes where it's just like, hey, we're just going to go around, la, 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 get the treasure and then lose the treasure. And that's happened 2 times now, basically.
Right.
So that's the hard part. But going back, way back to like 10, 15 minutes ago, uh, we were talking about, okay, like, should this character be Honda? Should it be Fee? I don't think it should have been any of them. I think they still have so much work to do with the Bad Batch themselves. As I said, last season, you barely got a word out of Echo. This season, at least we got some out of Tech. This could have been, Echo's episode or something. And what bothers me is when you're watching this episode, there's moments of silence where they're just like kind of walking through the hallways.
Right.
That's opportune time where you could have dialogue going that's going to get into the minds of these characters to see what they're going through, what they're feeling. I mean, they've been on the run from the Empire. What are they actually going through in their head?
Well,
Like, there's just so many things. Like, what are their motivations right now? They could flesh that out and still have a really fun episode that's more of a one-off, but we can get some more information and tidbits at least to make this feel like it's a little deeper.
See,
I,
that's a
I
good
agree with
point.
that. Go ahead, Ben.
Like, I'll throw out there real quick before you, Milton. Like, just to throw out there for you guys, like that's a good point Chris brings up right there, because it's like my thing is on those silent moments, the perfect if you're gonna keep downgrading Omega. Heck, guys, by the time we downgrade Omega, she's gonna be in a diaper before this series is over. Um, but like my thing is, if you're gonna keep downplaying Omega so much, use her in those moments. If she's gonna be the quote unquote kid of the series, use her to open up dialogue for the main guys. Use her in a way where as like a channel to them talking about their experiences. Like you could have Omega say, oh, I'm scared, like have you guys ever gone on a mission like this before, and have like one of
Yeah.
them like talking about a mission, and then they get cut off by some action sequence or whatever. Like at least like introduce like little breadcrumbs into the story where it's like at least they're talking about the Clone Wars era, just something versus just walking around in silence. Like, what are we doing here? But Milton?
Yeah, I'm just going to just piggyback off Chris's point about expectations. Look, I think it's just like I look at twofold this way. This reminds me of the sequel movies of, what was set up in The Force Awakens, how JJ set up
Okay.
certain characters and certain storylines and whatever. And then obviously The Last Jedi came out, didn't really fulfill what we liked in the sense of those storylines and pushing things forward like we wanted it to. And I remember thinking about like people being mad about, Finn not being like a Jedi and just making Finn just chase girls the whole time and,
One of
all this
those
other
people.
stuff. Yeah, right. And I remember people like a lot of my friends, when I see my one buddy, Chris, always gets on my shit about this because he's like, well, Milton, you gotta temper your expectations. I'm like, no, that's not me. AJ and Disney set up our expectations for like the end of The Force Awakens. They set it up for how we thought it was going to happen in The Last Jedi. And it's like with this show, Dave Filoni set us up with certain episodes and certain themes and a certain tone of the show where we're thinking, okay, this should be the majority of the show. I don't need this kiddie stuff. I don't care about Omega wanting to look for treasure because all she cares about, literally all the season, is treasure. Like, that's
Yeah.
all she cares about is treasure and getting caught up in stupid stuff and trying to be extra. That's all she's done. There's no like, hey, we need to look for Crosshair. Hey, we need to figure out a better lifestyle. Hey, we should figure out how to be more stable as a unit and as a family. She's all about treasure and just getting caught up in doing adventure stuff. That's all she cares, which is stupid.
Yeah.
Especially, she's not a normal teenager. Now, if she was a normal teenager, okay, normal teenagers think a certain way. She is a genetically engineered clone teenager who's been around war, who's been around massacre, who's had to grow up fast, who's been on the run. So her psyche is not like a normal child. Her development has rapidly matured because she's seen a lot of mature stuff. Why are you still writing her as a weirdo 15-year-old kid or whatever, how old she is? That makes logically no sense. She should be kind of hardened,
Mm-hmm.
more jaded about the world. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
here's another thing. Another thing too, Milton. Like about the expectations thing. Like that's a thing that really just like grinds my gears with the talk around the Star Wars community, in my opinion. Like my best friend talks to me about it, and he's like, "Oh, don't get your expectations up. You should have expectations." But my thing is, so you're telling us as fans, fans of a franchise, we're not supposed to be excited for it. So we should just go in with just the lowest possible like excitement. I hope it doesn't suck. Like, no, we want to we want to be excited. It's just BS. Like to me, the whole expectation thing is such a load of BS. Just because it's like
a cop out response. It's because the moment you question, a creator's, whatever they come out their final, project, if you don't like it, you're not allowed to like criticize it or whatever it is, which is BS. Because again, literally, the Force Awakens, I went back and rewatched The Last Jedi today. Actually, you guys are surprised to hear this.
What?
After this?
Breaking news on the podcast.
After this episode,
Holy crap.
I was so mad because I was like, man, this is such a stupid episode. And I was like, I put on The Last Jedi. I'm like, let me see how bad this is. I was trying to compare both of them. The Last Jedi is still bad. I'm thinking like, oh my God, I know I'm not nuts because they set up so much in The Force Awakens with us and none of it's fulfilled in The Last Jedi. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is like this current show that we're watching. Like they set up our expectations and nothing's being fulfilled. But yeah, I did watch The Last Jedi. I did a lot of fast forwarding, by the way, especially through Canto Bite, through the Leia stuff, through the Rey stuff. I just fast forward through all that shit.
I mean, well, the thing is with that, it's just like I just don't like that creators, and then of course, like you have a lot of fans, who like, people can really people can love stuff all they want. Like that's awesome, whatever. But my thing is, don't get mad at other people who don't like it, and then use the expectation thing as an excuse to tear down someone's criticism of the project. Like to me, you should be excited. You're a fan of the thing. You shouldn't go into something like you, Milton. You've talked before about how your dad's watched some Star Wars stuff with you. So like the thing is, how would you tell him, be like, oh, hey, we're going to, not even Star Wars related, let's go to this movie. Well, Dad, we have a baseline. This movie's probably going to suck. Let's hope it's going to be good. Like, are you going to really pitch watching that movie to your dad by saying keep your expectations at basement level? Like, come on.
No, because I know him. He's not going to want to go see it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know how like certain movies he does and doesn't like. But even if it's something he was interested in, if I say, "Hey, Dad, I heard this movie's kind of trash," let's be like, ugh. He's like, "Well, I probably don't want to go now." Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm over this episode, but go ahead.
I have more to say about the episode.
No, Chris, I got you. I'm sorry. I'm just saying this episode's really disappointing. This whole show, this season, I'll put it to you this way: this season has been very disappointing.
Yeah. So the first episode, we get Hunter talking to Echo. Echo's like, "Hey, we got to do something. Like, can't keep running forever." And Hunter's just like, "Yeah, we're gonna keep our heads down and we're gonna just live, whatever happened to that." Because like this episode, okay, so first off, I was surprised because the last episode they're like, oh, we're gonna go get, Sid's like, oh, they're Echo and Hunter, they're off getting Nerf nuggets or something like that. I was like, oh, maybe this week we'll like get that analogous part of the story, that piece of the story, we're gonna go follow them. But I was like, okay, cool, that's cool too. Like we just know they went off on an adventure, we're not gonna see it, whatever. So they're all together, and Hunter is just like, he seems like he's also taken a step back. Like he's not as strong of a leader anymore. Like he's just kind of silent protagonist, or not even protagonist, but just there along the way. Just, Omega's there, but there's like that bond just doesn't seem like it was season 1. So that was a little bit odd for me.
No, I
Yeah.
agree. I really everything you said. I agree with everything you said. Like it's just not. It's bad.
Like they really need a dose of the Empire busting them in this next episode badly. Like they need the Empire to come busting into Sid's place or something like to get this thing going. And the thing is, I think on the schedule wasn't I don't have the schedule handy, but I think the 8th episode or the 7th episode they were gonna air 2 episodes like back to back
Yes.
for like the mid-season thing. I'm pretty sure.
That.
So
Yeah.
at least we know something is gonna happen, but that means we got to get through next week still. So basically, the thing is, the thing is that kills me. I think with this season so far is the first 2 episodes were what they were. They were all right, and then we got the third one, which was amazing. My thing is, last season it was like the first 2 episodes were amazing, or the first two into 3 episodes were really good, and then you had 2 kind of fillery, and then you had 2 or 3 mid-season, then you had a couple fillery, then you had the couple ending ones. So they had 8 or 9, probably 8 episodes. Half the season arguably was good, was good enough. So far right now, in sports terms, we're like 1-4 right now. We have 1 good to 4 not good, and it's like, what is? I just hope it picks up. Like we have, like I said, we have a couple weeks. Like this coming week, probably is going to be filler-esque, but then the following week, so 2 weeks from now, it should be pretty good since we have 2 episodes back to back. In my estimation, that is.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And another thing that bothered me is last. Well, I have 2 more points to make, and then that's pretty much all I have to say. But what bothered me was the pacing of the episode. They treated this episode almost like a video game, where it was like, okay, we got to get into this place to solve the puzzle. It's like, okay, there's these things we're spinning around. Like it literally felt like Tomb Raider. It's like, that's cool and all, but it was like it was going on a little too long. It's a 22-minute episode. They're spending 10 minutes just figuring out a single puzzle. Like, all right, where's this go? Where's this going? And that just seemed monotonous to me, and just seemed. Again, I feel like I'm picking this thing to hell, but it's just things I want to say, because I want to at least say why all this stuff added up to the point where it was a disappointment. So that bothered me, but just I don't want to get too much more into this. If next week's episode's the same like this, then I'll go on a more of a longer rant. But I don't
Yeah.
feel like I ranted that much this episode anyway. But as far as this is concerned, I'm just like, I keep thinking in the back of my head. Is this why Lucasfilm was kind of kicking this as a can down the road? It's like, okay, it's fall. Okay, we're gonna kick this down the road until spring. Let's
And they're
put it down the
dropping
road.
during
They're,
Mando.
they're just kind of pushing it to the point where it's gonna be. Is it a conspiracy theory that I think that maybe they're putting it out at a time where it's going to be completely overshadowed by Mando purposely? I mean, why would you send your creation off to die? Essentially, is what it's going to be, because it's not going to get that much attention unless there's synergy there. Unless there is a synergy there where they're going to have Mountain Tannis in there and on Mando or something. Like maybe that's the only reason why. But yeah, it just leads me into negative thoughts to that degree, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I have a feeling this is probably going to be the last season of this show. I would say, but especially with them pushing it into the Mando season. Like if this would have been during the fall standalone by itself, it would have gotten really dicey. I just I don't know. I just think it'll probably just be like stamped out basically by Mando. And you probably won't see a lot of people really talking about this show now, other than like the hardcore Star Wars fans, like us, of course. We're reviewing it, we're podcasters, etc. But you won't see nearly as many just casual people like tweeting about the show or anything, in my opinion, which is unfortunate because Star Wars should be making good shows where people are talking about it all the time. And it's like, to me, it's almost like they mailed it in. Like they just basically sat on their laurels and were like, hey, it's slap Star Wars on the show and then put a show together and go with it. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like we don't have a lot more to say about this episode. Like we picked it apart, and my thing with it too is, don't get me wrong, like we've really shredded this episode to pieces. But if people enjoy it, then that's awesome. Like more power to you. Like I personally didn't, but it's great when people do find
Yeah.
something like really like about it, because see, that's something I think that's always overlooked on like online film and TV talk, is like, you hop on Twitter, I mentioned it earlier, like you always have the people that are like attacking others, like, oh my gosh, you like this show, well, you shouldn't like it because of this and that, or oh my gosh, you didn't like this show, you should like it because of this or that. Or it's like, to me, why not just let people have their opinion, and let them have their opinion versus making an excuse for them having an opinion. Like, it is an opinion, it's a creative piece. So like, some people may really like this episode, but
Yeah.
it's just not for me.
I know for a fact there's a lot of people out there that love the episode, and I want to be very clear about that. Like, you like what you like.
Yeah.
You don't have to
Oh,
listen to
100%.
critics. You don't have to listen to us. Don't feel like, oh, I feel weird because I'm liking this episode and everybody else isn't. I mean, we can all say we've watched episodes of whatever it is or movies that we think are amazing. Everybody
big
else
ones,
dogs on us about them. So, that's what it is. It's just what you think of it. First reaction, second reaction, whatever. Uh, this show, yeah, it's not the most deep Star Wars show, but not everybody really wants that. I mean, after Andor, this is a nice palate cleanser for some people who couldn't get into that maybe because it is too dour, it is too dark, it is just too more mature for Star Wars that they're used to. Whereas this, they can turn it on and kind of just, I don't want to say turn my brain off because I feel like that's a negative thing, but just kind of relax a little bit more, not knowing like, oh my gosh, this is the end of the galaxy here. These are just little fun Sunday. I could feel like a kid again watching these like Saturday morning cartoons. And I think that's more or less what this show's more about than we realized.
Oh yeah, well here's a big one, like, non-Star Wars related. I'm in the minority on one of the big movies ever that people just adore and think it's like the best thing ever and what blah blah blah. But I don't really like Avengers Endgame. I really don't. I just think it's whatever. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think the time travel stuff in it is just BS because it's like, all right, so you're gonna basically kill off Tony Stark, but you can't just go to a different time period and swipe up a new Tony Stark, to bring back just because Robert Downey Jr.'s leaving the franchise. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just don't like the movie for that reason, because I think when you introduce time travel in a movie that's not Back to the Future, you introduce a lot of logical questions you can't answer. It basically, when it comes to time travel in movies and shows, you just have to literally just shut your brain off and be like, okay, I agree with whatever logic the creator is going with. Because, with Endgame, as soon as you just start asking questions, it's like, well, why couldn't they just went and grabbed a different Tony Stark? So it's just like, I just don't like that movie. I really don't. It's not even in the top 10 of favorite Marvel movies for me. And I'm fine with being in the minority for that. Like, I'm totally fine. But people just, and then when I talked about that before on Twitter, like when that movie came out, people were like, random people I don't even know were like responding to my tweet telling me I don't know Marvel and this and that. And I'm like, dude, it's a movie. Calm down. Like, but people just, you know how it is with opinions on the internet.
Yep. And with that said, let's get into our final thoughts and scores out of 10. I'll start this one off. Yeah, it's got some good elements, from the music to the elements of the visuals are always fantastic. The lighting, the modeling, everything is great in that realm. As far as a story, yeah, this is a fun watch for the first time. But as Milton always likes to view things and rate things, it's really rated by the rewatchability factor. Can you go back and glean anything new? Can you go back and watch it and get the same excitement? And I gotta say, I don't think I see myself watching this one anytime soon. But it was entertaining on the first watch, so I gotta at least put that out there. So with that said, I'm gonna give this one a 4 out of 10. It's just I wish it could have been better. We've spent far too long talking about what was bad about the episode, more than I care to admit how much time we just spent talking about that. But that's just the state of things. I'm gonna throw it over to Milton.
2 out of 10. 2 out of 10. This episode was bad. Like, it's straight trash. And the only reason why I get to 2 is because it has the regular visuals and sound mixing and lighting. Like, that's the only redeemable thing. It's that That should not be the reason why I give this even a 2, but it's getting a 2 for that reason because it's not good. This episode is terrible, and I just can't. It's so bad I don't want to get into it further because it's trash. Like if I've never rated a show this low before or an episode, 2 out of 10. Facts done.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing with this show. Like I said, ever since we started this podcast, whenever I watch things, like in the back of my head, I'm always on like the Milton rating scale of either trash or like above that, and this falls in the trash category on the Milton rating scale.
It's not rewatchable.
Not at all. It's not. I have no interest. I would rather watch the Last Jedi than this. And
exactly. That's why
like
I went back to watch it because I need to see if I can.
Oh my gosh! I can't believe you did that. I really can't believe it.
And there are parts about The Last Jedi that I actually do. There's parts.
Love when Luke says Darth Sidious. I love that part.
The 2 lessons, and I like when Rey and Kylo are force fighting for the lightsaber. That's it.
Yeah, like there are definitely some good parts. To put my rating out there about the Bad Batch, I would say I was falling right on the 3. So 2 from Milton, 3 from me, 4 from you, Chris. But like The Last Jedi, it definitely has like some solid moments in it, like the Darth Sidious. I love when Luke said Darth Sidious. Like I'll never forget that because like that is, to me, that's wild. Just because it's like we knew him as Palpatine for so long, and then presumably we didn't expect him to ever say Darth Sidious. So like I thought that was one of the coolest parts of that movie. And then of course like the lessons in training, like the one part in that movie I always enjoy so much. Like the one thing, say what you want about Ryan's direction with the movie. Like we've talked about that in prior podcasts. But I really, really like when Luke's training Rey, and Rey, basically Luke still shows he has it. When he's fighting her in training, like, she literally, they're fighting with the sticks and stuff, and Luke kicks it in for a second there, and you're like, oh, he still has it. Like Luke could have done something awesome in this movie and doesn't, but it's like, it's cool knowing Luke still had that in him. So like, yeah, there are definitely still some really good qualities left in that movie. And then, of course, like my thing is, when it comes to the sequels, I always say it, like the best thing, in my opinion, like of course you have interesting parts throughout the movies, but the best thing I love the most from those movies is Rey's theme. I just love Rey's theme so much that John Williams made. I think it is like right there, top tier Star Wars music. Yeah, hey, those are some extra sequel trilogy thoughts after the Bad Batch. See, guys, look, we're getting a palate cleanser by talking about The Last Jedi, talking good things about The Last Jedi.
Oh my gosh! Well, one of these days we're gonna do our commentary on the sequel trilogy when we get into a little lull here between the different releases. But as far as scores, we have a 2, we have a 4. What was your score, Ben?
3.
All right, so we're running the 2, 3, 4. Okay. There you go, sequential order. So there you have it. That was the show. Thanks everybody for watching, for listening. What are you guys going to be up to this week, Ben?
I'm basically just going to be working out this weekend. Just lifting like normal, continuing to work on this diet. Like I said, hit 5 pounds lost this week, so I'm really excited to see where I'm heading with that. Hopefully, I can keep losing on a pretty good clip right now, and I'm not like dying of hunger or anything, so that's always a good thing when you're dieting. So I'm just going to keep pushing, continuing there. And then, of course, just watching the NFL playoff games. I hope the Eagles win for Milton's sake, and I think the Eagles will win personally in that game. And then I'm excited for the other game. I think Kansas City will probably pull it off. I think we're going to get a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl in a couple weeks. So yeah, it's just going to be kind of a sports weekend. And then of course, as you know, Chris, like on Sunday, you and me will be watching The Last of Us, and I cannot wait for that episode, because like this show is getting so good, and HBO released the run times for episode 4 and 5. So this week is episode 3.
Okay.
But 4 and 5, the runtime is 50 minutes, then 61 minutes for the next 2 episodes. So So we're going to be getting some longer episodes. So I'm really excited to see where they go. And for any of our listeners that may have not seen this already, HBO already announced they renewed it for season 2. So just a fun little Last of Us update there as well.
Yeah, fantastic news there on Pedro Pascal and the other actress from Game of Thrones. Damn it if I'm forgetting her name. Do you know the name, Ben? Oh, no, I feel like I have to look it up. Hold on a second. Milton, what are you going to be up to this weekend?
Yeah, Milton, what are you up to?
This weekend, tomorrow I'm watching Royal Rumble, WWE 2023 Royal Rumble. As you guys know, I'm a huge wrestling fan. I mean, again, half my wardrobe is wrestling T-shirts and wrestling tank tops. So yeah, I'm watching Royal Rumble with my boy. Can't wait to do that. Sunday. Gonna hang out with a friend to go to like a festival in the morning or in the afternoon, and then watching the Eagles at 3 o'clock. So it should be a good weekend. It's a fun time to be a sports fan. I love it. So like I said, wrestling on Saturday and football on Sunday. Can't wait to get into it and just maintaining like I normally do in the gym when I go. So that's pretty much my weekend.
Yeah,
Now,
the
Milton,
Eagles looked great last week for sure.
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah, I think they're heading off there to the Super Bowl, I think.
Oh, look, hold on. Let me knock on wood because y'all trying to jinx it.
let's hope so, boys.
Yes,
I'm
God.
excited.
Bella Ramsey is the actress. Bella Ramsey is
yep.
the actress that plays opposite of Pedro Pascal as that character in that story. So there
Ellie.
you go. Ellie. And there you go. So as far as me, I'm going to be doing some more painting over here probably on Sunday. So maybe painting some Grogu's, which should be very interesting because, man, oh man, that is the smallest miniature I've ever seen. Thing is like 3 millimeters tall. It's tiny. So that'll be very quick. Maybe I'll show them off on next week's episode. Who knows? But anyway, you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss next week's episode. We go live every Friday at 9 o'clock Eastern, and we have this podcast available to download wherever you download podcasts: Spotify, Google Play, Apple, Amazon, all those and more. You can just look up Outer Rim Transmission wherever podcasts are found. So for Milton, for Ben, for Chris, aka Starrapter, thanks for watching. May the force be with you, and transmission.